But if you had regular hands, you'd be like everyone else.
You know you're watching a Tim Burton film if it's Burtonesque. So what does that mean exactly? Burtonesque is a unique blend of surrealist nightmare and childlike whimsy, inspired by German Expressionism, Suburban Americana, and a Gothic sensibility.
I spent so long in the darkness, I'd almost forgotten how beautiful the moonlight is.
The German Expressionism movement from the post-World War I period is defined by distorted or slanting shapes, high contrast light and dark, and prominent shadows. Burton pays homage to German Expressionist classics, like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Metropolis. And like these older films, Burton's work creates the sense that you're in a stylized dream, giving visual form to emotion.
There was just something about the dynamics and the shapes, with the shadows and the light and dark and you know, like Fritz Lang. Those old films that really captured a spirit and a feeling of like being in a dreamscape or inside of somebody's mind.
He said that he doesn't even remember his own dreams, but that there's so much strange in real life that it often seems like a dream. There's also a clear Gothic influence in Burton's work. Gothic literature is preoccupied with death, and Burton's movies often feature ghosts, skeletons, and cemeteries. We also see the Gothic influence in his love of tortured or alienated heroes.
As soon as we get settled, we'll build you a dark room in the basement, okay?
My whole life is a dark room.
Edward Scissorhands is Burton's spin on the most famous Gothic character of all time, Victor Frankenstein's monster.
Etiquette tells us just what is expected of us and guards us from all humiliation and discomfort.
These influences might seem to paint a picture of deep existential angst, but Burton's films have an underlying sense of fun, wonder, and optimism. To him, thinking about death doesn't have to be tragic. He said he feels inspired by the Day of the Dead's positive, celebratory spirit. So counterintuitively, Burton's ghoulish, morbid movies are life-affirming.
You set me free. Now I can do the same for you.
Just look at how he chose to end Beetlejuice, a film that's all about dead people haunting the living, with a sing-along to Jump in the Line.
Jump in the line, rock your body, child!
This video is brought to you by Mubi, a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe. It's like your own personal film festival, streaming anytime, anywhere. It's set in a Gothic suburbia. Burton grew up in the suburbs of Burbank, California. Thankfully, there was a graveyard at the end of his street, a haven he described as a good place to think.
Where do you keep the spirits?
This mix of normalcy and creepiness in the director's childhood explains his take on the suburbs. We usually think of suburban America as hyper-traditional and boring, but Burton reveals it's actually really weird. Edward Scissorhands is an expression of the alienation and inability to communicate Burton felt in his neighborhood.
You feel kind of different and isolated, and you don't feel like you fit into your surroundings and society.
The film is set in a picture-perfect, Levittown-like suburb, complete with a local Avon lady.
Avon calling!
But as it introduces a fantastical outsider into this world, Edward doesn't really feel like the bizarre one.
What time does the barbecue begin?
Barbecue?
I'll bring coleslaw. I'll bring dessert. And I will bring the ambrosia salad.
It's the superficially cheery, cold suburbanites who are the true freaks. And Edward is the confused anthropologist trying to make sense of their irrational customs.
Soup, sirs?
I thought this was Isabel.
What?
I thought this was Isabel.
Yeah, it is shish kebab. It was a figure of speech, Ed. You gotta learn not to take things so literally.
The protagonist is a misunderstood outcast. Burton grew up feeling like an outcast.
It's like when people are telling you something, but it's not the way you feel, it makes you feel very interior, it makes you feel very whatever, sad or lonely or weird.
He was labeled as dark and weird when he didn't feel that he was especially weird.
I found it quite strange, it's just because you like monster movies, people thought you were weird, you know?
That's weird.
Many of his main characters reflect these feelings that he had as a young person.
Live people ignore the strange and unusual. I myself am strange and unusual.
Writer Philip Brubaker has said Burton's heroic characters are troubled loners, isolated from the rest of the world. Batman is a recluse, as is Edward Scissorhands. Pee Wee Herman is a happy loner. Burton takes us into the outcast's point of view. At first, like an exotic pet, Edward fills a void in his neighbors' unfulfilling, normal lives.
That was the single most thrilling experience of my whole life.
But over time, this rigid community is too close-minded to accept any person who doesn't subscribe to their norms.
It seems clear that his awareness of what we call reality is radically underdeveloped.
Edward's house looks strange to his neighbors, but of course this building is far more beautiful than one of these cookie-cutter, all-the-same boxes. Ironically, others interpret Edward as violent.
Call a doctor, he skewered Kim.
No! When in fact he's, as the movie poster emphasizes, an uncommonly gentle man. His scissor hands are symbolic in this way. They appear scary or destructive like weapons, but they're really tools for creation.
You see, before he came down here, it never snowed. And afterwards, it did.
And this is a stand-in for the artist, whose different personality is the sign of a powerful gift. In his films, Burton usually gives his misfits a way out of their oppressive environments. So maybe this is him subconsciously offering his younger self that way out, or reflecting how his own art did set him free. It looks like a Tim Burton film. Whether you're watching stop-motion animation or live actors, there's a cohesive Burton aesthetic that you'd recognize anywhere. Burton began his career as an animator for Disney, where he worked on movies like The Fox and the Hound. But it wasn't the right fit. He said that he didn't enjoy drawing perfect cartoon animals and couldn't even fake the Disney style. Burton's own artistic style is more surreal and exaggerated.
I love animated characters that have no eyes.
The director has criticized the CGI monsters of today, arguing that they're missing the human element. His monsters of Beetlejuice appear distinctly, intentionally DIY. Even Burton's live-action characters have the feel of being hand-drawn, like their illustrations come to life. Burton never skimps on wardrobe or makeup, which are key to bringing his particular vision to the screen. Characters typically have accentuated cheekbones, big eyes, dark under-eye circles, and chalky white complexions.
The light concealing cream goes on first. Then you blend and blend and blend. Blending is the secret.
They often wear black and white stripes or top hats.
But the absolute best way to travel is by hat.
Another mark of Burton's signature aesthetic is the nightmare face. These terrifying faces remind us Burton's dream worlds are always part nightmare. There's a dark blonde.
Perhaps there's a bit of a witch in you, Katrina.
Why do you say that?
Because you've bewitched me.
Not unlike some other iconic movie directors, Burton has a thing for blondes.
It was yellow hair you was looking for, sir.
He likes to put brunette actors into blonde wigs. But the Burton blonde is a dark, peculiar twist on the wholesome, all-American type.
Buttered fingers.
Just as he reinterprets the American suburb through his dark filter. It's a kids' movie that's too scary for kids. After Batman and its sequel, Batman Returns, Burton wasn't hired to direct for Warner Brothers again, for the same reason he'd been fired by Disney.
Can you be scary?
What do you think of this?
Despite his childlike tone, his creations could be too dark for young kids.
Everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable. But that is called cannibalism, my dear children, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies.
Burton's films are heavily influenced by the horror movies he watched as a child, but this can result in creations more suited for teens and young adults. It's through a child's eyes. Watching a Burton film is like viewing the world through the eyes of a very sensitive and unusual child who's making sense of reality for the first time.
I cannot make your heads bigger, but your children's heads. I can take them and crack them open.
He said, quote, "People say I am stuck in childhood, but it's not that. You only get to see the strangeness of life once, in a truly fresh way. I think the films are sometimes a kind of symbol for that." Many of his story designs are based on his own childhood ideas, sketches, and experiences. They include specific memories he's pieced together.
He was a great dog, a great friend. He'll always be there, Victor.
I don't want him in my heart. I want him here with me.
There's an innocence in Burton's movies, but at the same time, he's not reflecting the way adults think children are.
Sometimes adults don't know what they're talking about.
He's showing that kids have deep questions. They experience pain. They see the strangeness of the world. They're intelligent and nuanced.
Some of his dreams are prophetic, but mostly they're about clothes.
Prophetic as in, he can see into the future.
A large part of childhood is spent trying to understand who we are or who we want to be. Burton brings the audience back to a time when they were trying to understand themselves.
A chance to find out who they are, and thusly, who I am.
And reminds them to summon the child's creativity into their lives. It's a low-budget blockbuster.
It's showtime.
Tim Burton may be known for his idiosyncratic, artsy style, but he's also a wizard at turning a big profit on a minimal budget. His feature directorial debut, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, grossed $40 million on a $6 to $7 million budget. It was followed by Beetlejuice 3 years later, which made a profit that was nearly 5 times what it cost.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Thanks to Burton's winning streak, in 1989, he was picked up by Warner Brothers to direct their latest superhero film. Batman broke box office records and raked in $251 million, making it the biggest movie of the year.
Hubba, 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 money, money, money. Who do you trust? Me? I'm giving away free money.
Even with high-budget films like Batman and its sequel Batman Returns, Burton kept excess spending to a minimum, which caused arguments with the producers who wanted him to spend more. Still, you'd never know Burton is so economical from watching his films.
For $20, I can tell you a lot of things. For $30, I can tell you more. And for $50, I can tell you everything.
His early years making short films and getting started in the industry taught him how to realize his vision on a shoestring budget. So this director knows how to spend money well. Whatever money he has shows up in the frame. In recent years, Burton has made more big-budget films, especially for the studio that once fired him, Disney. Still, he consistently grosses at least 2 to 3 times what he spends, if not more. It might seem surprising that this director portraying alienated outcasts has such reliable box office appeal, but he proves that staying true to yourself pays off, and also that more people can relate to feeling like a misfit than you might expect. The past is haunting. Burton uses flashbacks to illuminate characters who fixate on the past.
These flashbacks happen often?
Increasingly. Today.
In Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we get a window into Willy Wonka's childhood.
I'm sorry, I was having a flashback.
Something the original Roald Dahl book and 1971's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory declined to give us. Burton's flashbacks humanize and flesh out this larger-than-life chocolatier to investigate why he has a sore spot for parents and an obsession with candy.
And the rest of you must be their
Parents.
Often his flashbacks signify the turning points in the lives of villains or even heroes. In Corpse Bride, the flashback remains of the Day song describing how the bride was murdered by her greedy fiancé.
I'll tell you a story, make a skeleton cry of our own jubiliciously lovely corpse bride.
Both dramatizes her turning point into becoming the corpse bride and helps us see her as a wounded human being. Big Fish is told exclusively through the father's flashbacks.
A man tells his stories so many times that he becomes the stories. They live on after him, and in that way, he becomes immortal.
Just like the story Edward Scissorhands is told by an older Kim to her granddaughter decades later.
Well, there are all kinds of scissors, and once there was even a man who had scissors for hands.
Kim lives in the past.
I'm an old woman now. I would rather him remember me the way I was.
And we might say this of other Burton characters. Burton sometimes moves between worlds of gray versus color to counter our assumptions about which realities matter most. In Big Fish, the flashbacks are more colorful than present reality, visualizing how the past can loom larger than what's going on before our eyes. Likewise, in Corpse Bride, the land of the living is gray and dismal, while the land of the dead is vibrant and lively. Showing rather than telling the audience that the land of the living is not a very nice place.
Why go up there when people are dying to get down here?
There's a character-defining symbolic object. Many of Burton's most beloved characters have a symbolic item that they carry with them. This talisman might define the character. In Sleepy Hollow, the caged bird toy Ichabod's mother gave him is a reminder of the love that he lost.
Cotton on one side, an empty cage. And now.
For Pee-wee, the item is his bike.
I wouldn't sell my bike for all the money in the world. Not for $100 billion, million, trillion dollars.
For Lydia, it's her camera, representing the peculiar and original way she sees the world.
God, you guys really are dead. This is amazing.
And since she can capture signs of ghosts in her pictures, the object reminds us of her unique ability to communicate with the dead.
They don't want to come down.
Why not?
I think the reason is that they were trying to scare you away and you didn't get scared.
Sweeney Todd's razor is his means of revenge for the death of his wife, and by this point the character is only the will for vengeance.
At last, my arm is complete again.
For the Mad Hatter, his hats are what saved his life.
I'd like to keep it on.
Suit yourself.
Edward's object would obviously be his hands.
I'm not finished.
But eventually he learns he's more than his hands.
No matter what, Edward will always be special.
You recognize the cast. Of the 26 feature films that Burton has directed or produced, Johnny Depp has starred in 8.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
And Helena Bonham Carter, Burton's ex-partner and mother of his 2 children, has starred in 7.
I love a morning execution, don't you?
Singer-songwriter Danny Elfman composed the music for all but 3 of Burton's films.
There's children throwing snowballs instead of throwing heads.
Other recurring faces are Eva Green, Christopher Lee, Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Winona Ryder. It's an adaptation with a twist. Burton's films might feel familiar because they're often adapted from existing stories. Yet Burton has a gift for making any tale his own. This might be through his signature aesthetic or through expanding or altering the story's ideas.
You can't run a chocolate factory with a family hanging over you like an old dead goose.
It plays on fairy tale character types, like the evil stepmother, who can be found in Sleepy Hollow, Alice in Wonderland, and Beetlejuice.
We were trying to scare your mother.
Stepmother. Anyway, you can't scare her. She's sleeping with Prince Valium tonight.
There's also the witch-like character, but in Burton she can be either evil or good.
You cannot live your life to please others. The choice must be yours.
The protagonist might get help from a guardian angel. In Batman, Alfred is the superhero's conscience, the voice inside his head telling him to be a better human.
I have no wish to fill my few remaining years grieving for the loss of old friends or their sons.
Grandpa George guides Charlie Bucket toward his rightful place at the chocolate factory.
But this ticket, there's only 5 of them in the whole world. And that's all there's ever going to be. Only a dummy would give this up for something as common as money.
Every hero must have a monster to fight, and Tim Burton is the master of monsters. The director says he's always felt connected to monsters, in part because of the monster movies he grew up watching. Burton revels in his creations' creatively gross monstrosities. In Nightmare Before Christmas, which Burton produced, Oogie Boogie, a burlap sack full of insects and spiders, wants Halloween to be a terrifying holiday instead of a day full of fun trick-or-treating, candy, and costumes.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to do the best I can.
The monster might represent a coarser version of oneself that a character doesn't want to become. The Maitlands may be ghosts, but that doesn't mean they have to become Beetlejuice. Other times the hero feels like the monster himself. Edward is seen as the dragon.
The power of Satan is in him, I can feel it.
But really, he's the kind-hearted royal unfairly imprisoned in the tower. There's a found family. Burton expresses that while you can be satisfied on your own, finding your people, whoever they may be, brings the richest happiness.
Life is strange and beautiful.
It has emotional range. What makes a film truly Burtonesque is the melding of emotion.
I've never met anybody that feels one way at every, you know what I mean? It's like it's just we're comprised of many different feelings all at once.
People might think of Burton as dark, but really his characters experience a wide range of emotions. Fantasy or fairy tale elements are grounded by feelings that are true to our world.
This is impossible.
Only if you believe it is.
Most poignantly, Burton captures a universal longing for what's impossible or unattainable.
Hold me. I can't.
What is too delicate and beautiful to be realized, except in a dream world.
Well, I mean, let's face it, you're not exactly normal, are you?
It's not exactly a normal world, is it?
Hey guys, this is Grace, and today I want to talk to you about one of our favorite places to watch movies, Mubi. Mubi is a treasure trove of films. Every day, Mubi premieres a new film, whether it's a movie you've been dying to see or one you've never heard of before. There is always something new to discover. So in this world where it's very easy to spend hours debating what you should watch, Mubi is like having a really cool friend with amazing taste in movies, making it so much easier for you. They feature hard-to-come-by masterpieces, indie festival darlings, influential art house and foreign films, lesser-known films by your favorite famous directors, and more. Plus, you can even download the films to watch offline, and there are no ads ever. One movie you can check out right now on Mubi is Sleepwalk, Sarah Driver's directorial debut. In this fantasy drama, a woman finds that an ancient Chinese manuscript has powers that begin to take over her life. We can't recommend Mubi highly enough. You can try it out now for free for a whole month. Just click the link in the description below.